Rebecca, great to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
So, first of all, how would you describe the world we're living in right now?
Well, this is a complex world. We are in a crossroad. First of all, I always say multipolarity is not a choice, it's a fact. We are in a multipolar world. What is a choice is multilateralism. Are we going to have multipolarity with multilateralism or without? Without, it will lead us to fragmentation. We are in a world of contradictions and of change, and very accelerated change. And when change is so fast, not everything changes at the same pace. So there are new disequilibriums in the world. There are new imbalances and asymmetries that we need collectively to solve for a more stable and more peaceful world. We have to agree again that having international institutions that will be able to solve problems that no one of us can solve alone is the right way to go.
I think if we want to agree again, at the end of the day, it's all about trust, isn't it? And you said that across the world, trust in the UN is waning. What would you do to restore trust? Now, how long do you think that would take?
Well, I really believe that trust is something that is not easy to build and is very easy to destroy. And that the Secretary General of the UN can play an important role in building trust. And that is about engagement. It's about creating spaces for dialogue. It's about, let me say it this way, not surprising you. Yes? You know what I will do. You know that I will hold. I can be hold to my word. You know that I will be transparent. You know that I will be independent and impartial. Those are the elements, the indispensable elements to build trust. You have to have integrity, perseverance, and the impartiality to really hold the UN towards the objectives and challenges that we have set for the UN to solve.
But how do you navigate the differences among major powers, let's say among the P5?
Look, I have navigated that all my life. Yes, I've been in politics, I've been the vice president of my country. Believe me, to navigate the complexities of Congress is not easy. Even in the government, you have different currents and different, parts of the government that they feel different, they think different. There is a lot of diversity. Your objective is not for the world to be homogeneous. Is to navigate within the differences. And there is always the possibility to find something in which we agree that is important for everybody. You don't have to agree on everything, to agree on something that is essential for millions of people in the world.
Let's say in the Middle East or Gaza, the P5 couldn't reach a consensus to stop the conflicts, and what would you do if you become the Secretary General?
I will try again. When I negotiated...
sometimes yes. It's really urgent, then we don't have the time to try again.
But no, it's not true. Because when you think like that, you never try. Because you cannot solve an important conflict in 1 minute. Mm-hmm. You have to persevere. When we negotiated the Black Sea Initiative, I navigated many no's until I had a yes. And we solved the problem. And in fact, it was in the time that the problem needed to be solved. Yes, so we saved the world from a food insecurity crisis. The price index of food came down 23%. That means 230 million people not going under the poverty line. So if I would have thought that I needed to solve the problem in 1 week, I would have not tried because that was not possible. And we tried, and in some short time of period of months, we were able to open up trade in the Black Sea.
You also said we shouldn't do more with less. We should do less with less. If you are the next Secretary General, what change, what reform even would you make?
I think that that phrase it has been misunderstood, like shrinking the UN. No, less with less means to be more strategic. So what I believe is that the UN has to be more strategic with less. Refocus. Do the things where the UN is unique and partner with others in the things that others can do. Well, in peace and security, I said that I will reform the office of the Secretary General. I think that the Secretary General has to have a group in the office of the Secretary General that can move with flexibility, with urgency, fast, with creativity. And that will be necessary for preventive diplomacy and mediation. And I believe in both. In development, I think that there is duplication and unhealthy competition within many parts of the UN. And there, I think that we need more discipline. We cannot all follow the money. We have to agree which are the organizations that have the capacity to do certain things, and not to try to duplicate that capacity just to have the money in another organization. So more discipline has to be exerted. And I think that the reform is about convincing. I think that at the top there are still things to be done, yes, in terms of too many top positions that maybe should be looked at. And the process of UN80 that has happened until now, where a lot of effort has gone into, have to be taken seriously. I want to see what will be the recommendations and take decisions.
I want to talk about multilateralism again. And do you think we are now in a post-multilateral world?
Well, I think that people are more skeptical of the capacity of the multilateral system to deliver. And as I said before, we need to avoid to go from skepticism to fatalism. Yes, where people will believe there is nothing to be done, that the multilateral system doesn't deliver anymore. And so we have to go to a post-non-multilateral world. And that will worry me.
And what would you do to uphold multilateralism under the framework of the United Nations, given that we have seen that some countries now are bypassing the UN already?
Well, I will tell you this. The UN has never had the monopoly of everything. We haven't had the monopoly of peace and security. We haven't had the monopoly of development. And we haven't had the monopoly of human rights and human dignity. But we are a moral center and a legitimate place to hold to those principles. In my conversations with most of the countries of the world, I can tell you they want the multilateral system to hold. The small and medium-sized countries don't have the luxury of isolation. Our interdependence comes from our resilience comes from our interdependence. We need the system. We need the multilateral system. We need the agreed rules world. And we will fight for it. And I really believe that most of the countries of the world want the multilateral system to hold. You know, the law of the jungle is not good for anybody.
But do you think we're going back to the law of the jungle?
No, I think that it depends on us. I refuse this fatalism. I refuse this idea that there is nothing to be done. Because precisely that is what takes away our agency, our capacity to choose, our capacity to do good. And the world has demonstrated many times that we can avoid the worst, and we have to.
I want to talk about developing countries. What would you do to give developing countries more voice?
Well, you know that has been my life, yes, in a way. I always worked on development. I think that there is this demand for inclusion in the UN, that the developing world believed that in 1945 they were not at the table when many of the things were discussed, especially, for example, Africa, where most of the countries were not even independent at that time. And they want to have more to say. They want to be part of the Security Council and have a wider and stronger representation. And I think that there is a wide consensus in the UN that that claim has a lot of merit, that we will be better if we will represent the world as it is in 2026 and not as it was in 1945. And the reform of the Security Council is a reform that has to come from the membership of the UN, not from the Secretary General.
And do you think there is a political willingness to change for that
I really
matter?
believe so. You know, the Security Council has been changed twice, if I remember correctly, already. So it can be changed. We have to have the consensus that will allow that to happen.
Lastly, over the history of the UN, we have never had a female Secretary General. Do you think it's time?
I say in a kind of joking way that it's not because of the law of probabilities that we haven't had a female Secretary General during 80 years. Yes? Probabilities, being half of the population of the world, will toss between one and the other. So, what I really think is that we, female candidates, we don't need special treatment. No. We have an experience, we have a CV, we have a curriculum, we have a professional life to put in front of everybody. What we really ask is for equal treatment. If equal treatment will be guaranteed, I am sure this will be a good time for a female Secretary General.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. Thank you.
Thank you.